Hi, this is Mahesh Kosuri. Here I am going to explain about some interesting concept in SAP Analytics Cloud. Again, this course or this knowledge sharing is only for the people who are interested to come into the SAP segment, and this course is only for the freshers. Okay, in previous videos we have seen how to load transaction data loads into the model, and if we create any model that is by default a planning model, and we have discussed of the dimension structure, modeling structure, how the measure based structure will be, how the dimensions, what are the measures, and its data types and their properties we have discussed of, right? In this one, let us see one interesting concept in SAC. Let us create one more model. Here, actually, we have created model with empty data, right? This is the new model. In this new model, they have given two options: start with data, start with an empty model. Earlier, we have created in the video 2 and 3, we have created a model. A start with an empty model. This one we have selected. When we select this one, here you can see the last statement. We recommend that approach for planning purposes. So this model is specially for the planning purposes they designed. But when it come to start with the data, and the last statement they claimed that this is for business intelligence, right? So let us see what happens if we select this start with the data. Interesting scenario this is. So I'm again creating one more model. This time directly I'm calling the Excel file. Whatever the source file, whether it is live connection or whatever it is, you can select your source file from here. Here you see I'm selecting my source file, and I'm selecting here inventory actuals US UK. I'm selecting. And as usual, first row as column headers, so we can ignore these column headers while importing, and the system will identify the first row as the first row values, first row column members as the dimensions. Let us see how once we import, how the system behaves now. So here you can see the system has proposed one structure, and you can see the measure. It has proposed one measure also. Whatever our flat file is there, let me open my flat file. So this is the sheet I have loaded. This is the sheet. Sorry. I guess sorry. So this is the data I have loaded. IND actuals I have loaded. That's the reason it is showing IND and subregion west. And of course, you can see one important thing here. Let me close this view. See. Okay. Yeah. So once I load the data into this model by selecting the data source file, you can see the structure the system has proposed: period, brand, variant, entity, sub-region. And of course, if I go to the data foundation, the system is showing the data also here. In the data foundation, you can see, right? Currently, this is the screen of the data foundation. There is nothing of the version or something like that. We don't know what kind of data we are bringing into the, I mean, what version data we are bringing into this system, right? And one more important thing here, there is no date and version dimensions for now. Just we have imported, we have not yet saved this structure. We are not sure whether the structure is okay for us or not. Just we are looking at these columns, right? So here currently all the dimensions are simple dimensions or single dimensions, single column dimensions. We can say simply, there is no dimension table for these dimensions. And this is system proposed. It is data type is integer based on its Excel data read, right? If you go here, the system proposing lot of, I mean, these many options. You can change the dimension type. You can change the, I mean, you can generate dimension table, convert it to property, convert to measure, delete, whatever you want to do, you can do it. So you can change your structure here. Whatever the system proposed, that one you can change here. What I'm trying to do here is the sub-region. I know here is the sub-region. Here my entity is there. I'm thinking that, okay, this one I can make it as the property for the sub-region. Okay. So that's why what I'm doing, I will select this entity and convert to property. I'm telling to the system, you convert to the property. Once I select this one as the property, then it is asking, okay, which dimension you want to make this entity as property. So you need to specify the target dimension here. Here I'm selecting, this is my main dimension, subregion is my dimension. So you make entity as the property to this dimension. What type of property it is? Here there are many type of property types. Here you can see. As for now, I'm selecting the test only. Okay, you can do with by selecting the different options. For now, I'm selecting the test. Here I'm making it as the property. Now once I select this entity as a property, the system proposing, here you can see entity and member ID, a single column it is proposing here, right? Under the single column sub region, it is showing as the dimension and member ID, and it is showing property, entity is property. That's nice. We have restructured our dimension, and here I'm not touching the measures. This is fine. I am okay with this integer. And of course, if you want to maintain the dimension tables for this all these dimensions, you just go here and generate dimension table. Why? Because for now these are all private dimensions, right? System, we have not yet created any kind of public dimension. These are all private dimensions. So if I generate the dimension table, it is asking, you want to make it as the private or public? I will maintain as the private. You want to maintain any additional properties for this one? Of course, brand I can maintain as the property, right? Brand as the dimension I have maintained. And of course, I can maintain brand as the variant also, I mean brand as the property also. Let me add one property here. The source is brand. I'm putting brand as the source. So I changed the structure again. I'm taking off this brand as the dimension. I'm making this brand as the property for this variant. Let us save this one. Okay, I have made the changes here. Okay, brand I have made it. I have generated one dimension table. I have generated one dimension table. I maintained the brand. I converted as the property so that you can see here. If you open this one, this dimension table, you can see brand as the property here. And coming here, sub-region, it is still the single column, right? Sub-region is still single column. I made entity as the property to the sub-region. That is the reason it is still showing under the, I mean, entity, it is still showing under the sub-region. If I generate dimension table, let us see what happens. Already it is there. It is entity. Property, it is showing as entity, right? If I go back, the difference you can notice. Variant here, I have generated the dimension table. At the time of generating the table, it has asked, do you want to add any dimension as a property? I have selected the entity so that we are seeing this dimension table. The subregion is still a single column dimension. But what I said to the system, you consider this entity as the property to this dimension. That's why it is still showing this structure. You can notice the difference between the dimension table and single column dimension. So even the single column dimension also accepting another dimension or another column name as property. Till you generate a dimension table, it will show this kind of structure. If I generate dimension table, what happens? Let us see. Okay, we have detected one issue with the dimension properties. Okay, this is the data issue. So what I'm doing for now, I'm leaving as is. As is, I'm leaving. That is the data issue. I will fix it later. Okay. Okay, I'm just leaving as is here. Now let us save this structure. I have not yet saved this structure. See, before saving the structure itself, system is showing some data in the data foundation. It means it is allowing you to change the structure even though we have uploaded our data into this data foundation. I mean in the model, right? And if you want to do some transformations, you can do it. This is we have not yet saved this one. This one not yet saved. That is the reason you have unsaved changes, save to continue. First, you save your changes, then you can do the transform. Let me save these changes. Here I am giving my inventory actuals are there. Inventory actuals are there. So I'm saving my structure along with the data. A version dimension was added successfully. One warning message is there. Two warning messages are there. A version dimension was added automatically. It's interesting, right? Here in this model, there is no date dimension, but version they made it as mandatory. If you open this dimension table here, you can see public actual. About this version dimension already we have discussed in our last video, part 3. This is interesting feature you can see. So by default, this is whatever the data you have loaded, that is actual version. So even though you have loaded your data into this model, system allowed you to add one more dimension here, and I mean version dimension it has proposed and made your data as the actual version by default. And we know this version dimension will not allow you to add any members. It will not allow you to add any members because you need to maintain this version dimension from the version management that is available in your story dashboard. That is one interesting feature, right? And we have seen one more issue, that is data related issue. The issue is related to this subregion is having 4 values, and whereas entity is having 3 values. Sorry, 1 value only. India data only I have loaded, right? That is the reason it is showing there is a mismatch. You want to propose any default value to this region. We can ignore that warning for now. And one more interesting feature you can see here. In previous videos, we have discussed of planning capability of the model once you create a model without any data, or you can say a blank model. We can say simply a blank model. Once we create, its default nature is planning capability. Default nature. We can make it as the analytic also. But what about this kind of model? We have created a model here, right? So let us see its properties. Go to the model preferences here. You see the model type default analytic. Default model is analytic. It is showing. Model layout is measure based. That's fine. But its model type is analytic. If I click on here, even this planning capability is disabled. This interesting feature, right? So this model you can use only for analytical purpose. You cannot write data to this model. That is one interesting feature you can notice in this model with data. And we have loaded the data here, right? Now let us open our data foundation. You can see here actuality is showing, right? So you have data here. It is by default actual data. There is no other version member here available. Now let us go to the, okay, here I have a question actually. Here I have a question. That is, say I have a scenario where these two data sets are coming into my this model. I want to load actuals and inventory actuals US UK and inventory actuals IND I want to maintain in this data model. I have loaded data from the US UK, right? Let me check. Okay, we have loaded data for the US UK. Here we have data for US UK data. Now I want to maintain the actuals from the another file, that is Excel inventory actuals I and I want to maintain here in this model. And of course these two files, for now I'm showing both the sources as the flat file systems. Assume one is coming from the BW, SAP BW, or some third party source system. One is coming from the flat file. This one is coming from the flat file. This one is coming from some other third party, say either SAP or non SAP, whatever it is. So I want to track down this change. I want to track down the data, how it is, from where it is coming into this model. For that, what I'm thinking, I'm planning to add one dimension. You can add dimension from here or from here. So if I click on here, I'm adding one data source dimension, and here you can see add new dimension table. I'm making it as the generic. I'm making it as the private itself. Now let us add it. Make it as a data source I'm keeping. So data source dimension, whether it is private or public, default it is generating as the dimension table. Edit dimension table. So once you create any dimension as the private or public, default it is the public dimension. You can see if it is highlights with blue, that is the dimension table. If it is with the gray, that is with single column. Let us maintain some members in this data source. Okay, this is also dimension. Here there is no description, right? So just highlight this one, go to the details. Here you can maintain description, data source. Okay, let us maintain the master data for this data source. Now if you click on here, in this dimension sheet I'm maintaining, suppose, file. Yeah, description also I'm maintaining file only. I'm assuming that the data is coming from flat file. That is the reason here I maintain file. Let us save this one. Data source, it is asking what member you want to maintain as the default member. For this diamond, for this file load, I want to maintain file as default member, so that all my data has been belongs to the file data source only. Like that I am designing here. Just to save, okay. So your model is saved successfully. I have saved this model. Now go to your file, data source flat file you have taken. Two members, yes. Yeah. Okay, refresh. So it is showing file. So default I have taken as the file data source. My data, entire data now has been belongs to file data source. This is the one thing we can do at the time of modeling our object. You can add your dimensions, maintain members, and you can your data by default will be assigned to that particular member. Now my question is, how do we bring the data from other, say suppose this other entity. I want to bring this data file also into my model. For that, again go to this one. We know already once we model the cube, we know there is data management option. You select here data management, it will take you to the data management screen. Here you can see data integration and API subscriptions. Now you go here, data import, file, because our all imports are coming from the file only. That is the reason I'm always selecting the file. If your system is connected with some third-party applications, either like SAP or non-SAP, that screen will be different. Okay. So here I'm selecting the select source file. I'm selecting the file. Yeah, I mean analytics file. I'm selecting it to open. Here you select your inventory actuals IND file. That's fine, right? Go import the same screen. When we created a model with blank and later we have imported their data using the data management tool, the same way here is also we can import the data into the model with the data. Let us set up import. This is our data. Okay, this is the flat file data. But our model is having one extra dimension, that is the data source. That part we know, right? So now you go for the map. That time it will show what is your what we have missed your mapping missing. It will show this entity. This is the entity, right? So this is the entity I'm mapping. Data source brand, I am leaving it blank. Okay. Actually our variant already connected with the brand dimension, so I do not want to bring this one. Now drop a column data source. How do we map this data source now? Because it's a source, its target is already having the value. So that's what I'm telling to the system. You take the target side, what are the values are there. Target side, what are the values are there. You can select one of them. For now, we have selected the file only, right? So I'm selecting the file. So both are we selecting the both are we are selecting. I mean both the files we are bringing the data from the file only. So here I'm selecting the file. Select OK. So mapping completed. Now go to the next. Variant. This is the actual data default. Here what it is telling system, this variant is the actually this is the private dimension, right? This private dimension is having two properties, description and brand. That's why in the previous screen brand I ignored. But here the second screen it is asking, okay, you have one private dimension variant. Okay, this private dimension is having two properties, description and brand. Do you want to map any fields here? Yes, of course. I have brand here. I will map here. So my mapping completed. Let us ignore this description for now. And data source already file we have assigned. That's fine, right? Go to the next. So data successfully validated. Let us run this import. Finish. Okay. Total these many rows we have imported. So this is how we can upload the data into this model. And of course, when you create the model, that time itself, the data will be uploaded into that model. After creating the model, also we can upload the data using the data management. Now let us see one interesting thing in this model structure, in this model type. This model we have discussed of it is the analytical model, right? So the system has proposed one version a dimension. The default it has actual only. Now let us create some small report using the story. Here I'm selecting the canvas. This is the optimized design experience I'm selecting. Let us pull our model. How can we pull our model here? You need to select object. Here I'm selecting the object. Table, whatever the model you want to select, you can select. We need inventory actuals, right? So I'm taking inventory actuals model. Default, the system is showing some data here based on the default selection of the measures in columns. In the rows, just select uh, sub-region you can select. Okay. So entity, we made it as the property for the sub-region. You can call your property also. The same way, variant, brand is the property for the variant. You call your variant, you call your brand. That's fine, right? And let us make some meaningful display of this data. This is like showing like hierarchical way, right? Under the east there are some entities, under the each entity there are some variants, and all these variants belongs to particular brand, and some values also showing inventory units. Of course these are all for some time periods. Let me call the time also here. Is period, yeah, period also there. That's fine. Okay. So this is the data here I am showing you. Now, one interesting feature, let us see. This is actual default. Let us take the version. So, so here this data is actual data. As I said, it is the analytical model. That is the reason if you go here, where is this? I have selected the model. There is no version management option here. I will bring the other model data here. Okay. I will connect to the other planning model here. I will show you the difference. What is that? Here I'm selecting the table. One more table I'm selecting. What happens? By default, your table has been selected to the, I mean, by default, your table has been connected to the Existing connection is nothing but existing data source. What data source we have connected to this table, the same data source, this table also has been connected. Let us change this one. Okay, let us change this one. Here you can see data source, right? Let us change this data source and connect it to the planning model. This is my planning model. Of course, we don't have any plan data there in that model. I have cleaned up entire model to enhance that data source. So there is no data now, right? So that's, even though there is no data here, you can see the structure, it is showing some structure. And if you go here, tools, here you can see version management, version history, you can see. So this is the plan cube, brand inventory planning. This is the plan cube. That's why it is showing version management and version history. Whereas if you select this table, this is the analytical cube. If you go here, there is version management and version history has been disabled. So this is the major change, major difference between the analytic model and planning model. What happens here? You can write the data into this model. Say suppose if I go, where is rows? If I select the brands, brand variants, there is no data, right? That's why it is showing the blank, not the cross. Brand here I'm showing. Let us select some region, sub-region I'm selecting. So any point of intersection, there is no data. That is the reason it is showing blank for now. Once we load the data and we can display this data and we can write the data for other versions too. So that is the difference between the business intelligence analytical cube and business planning plan cube. So when you are creating the model, first you need to decide whether you are only going to do the analytical model, or you want to have some flexibility on your model that can you want to have some flexibility on your model that can deal with the planning and analytic. Okay, thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any sessions to improve these recordings or sound quality or any content quality. Thank you.